So what happens if I want to ask the follow up? If Errol Spence goes to Keith Thurman, what do you do with Terrence Crawford? His mandatories is Shawn Porter. You don't want to pay for that fight. It's not going to generate any money. It's just going to cost. It's just going to be money not well spent. What's your idea for Terrence Crawford moving forward?
Well, you know, the fight for him, for Terrence, and we'll give him another fight, but the fight that will make him good money is to fight the winner of Taylor and Ramirez.
Mm. Oh,
I mean they have big fan bases.
Okay, yeah. The reason why I asked is because I know you don't want to pay, based off what you said, you don't want to pay a Terrence Crawford $4 or $5 million salary when there's basically no return. You know, like it's you understand what I'm saying?
No. That's his minimum.
Yeah, no, I know that.
In other words,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's not. No, that's not the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is with the opponent. Problem is not with Crawford. Crawford gets what he's supposed to get.
Okay.
The problem is with the opponent. How much is Porter going to cost me? When I tried to reach out to Thurman to make Thurman with Crawford before we ended up with Kell Brook. You know how much Thurman asked us for?
Yeah, Bud said 10.
$10 million. Yeah.
What would it take for Shawn Porter fight? 1 million, 2 million? What would you offer him? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, but $1 million would be fair. I would do that fight tomorrow.
You would do that fight tomorrow, and not a penny more,
right.
And not a penny more, right? I understand. I get you, Bob.
It's not a penny.
I totally.
Again, Porter is mandatory. So if Porter thinks he could get more for that fight,
tell Al Heyman to buy the fight.
Then he can go to purse bid.
I get
and
it,
he gets
Bob.
25%.
I get it. Bob, I'm on it. I understand how you doing business, and we actually had this conversation last night. Man, let me get to another caller because I can talk to you about this all night. I'm just because I want the fans to get their calls off. Here we go. What's up, Terrence Bailey?
How you doing, Fred?
Hey, what's up?
How you doing, Mr. Arum?
Good.
Thank Your audio is kind of off, but go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
It's kind of. Can you understand them, Bob?
Yeah. Okay. You translate.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, I want to ask this question. Well, this is my first question. Errol Spence said that he didn't know why Terrence Crawford was at his fight because he said that he didn't need him for his. Because Terrence Crawford said that he didn't need Errol Spence for his legacy. That he didn't need him. That he actually didn't need to fight him, and the whole 9 yards. Now, Manny Pacquiao has now reached out to the Spence camp to put together a fight for 2021, completely bypassing. Both are now ignoring Terrence Crawford by reports. So what do you think about that?
What did he say?
He said, I didn't understand. I was trying really hard to hear the second half, but the first half, he said, Terrence Crawford said he doesn't need Errol Spence. Why was he at the Errol Spence fight if he doesn't need him?
And then I also said that
he wanted to see the fight. he paid for his ticket, right? So he wanted to go to the fight. I mean, it's as simple as that. He wasn't going to the fight to. I mean, he's not going to force Spence to fight him because he came to the fight. He went to the fight. I mean, I've seen that many times, that fighters in the same division go to watch fighters in that division fight, even though they're not contemplating that they're going to fight them.
Gotcha.
Okay. The second part of that question was
better.
He said, well, if you don't, he said, well, you don't need me. And Manny Pacquiao was at the fight, And after the fight, Manny Pacquiao reportedly reached out to Errol Spence in order to make the fight between him and Errol Spence. So both completely.
Back up. Manny Pacquiao was not at that fight. Manny Pacquiao was home in the Philippines. Manny Pacquiao is a senator. The Senate's in session. Manny Pacquiao was not in Texas last weekend.
There's footage of him leaving and being interviewed as he was leaving.
That's not true. That is not true.
Okay.
Manny Pacquiao is not going to fight Spence, and he's not going to fight Crawford, even though we had a deal for him to fight Crawford, because he's going to fight Conor McGregor in one of these big money heists, and they're getting a lot of money in the Mideast for that fight, and Manny will make a lot of money with Conor McGregor. It's a lot easier fight than either Crawford or Spence.
Didn't the sanction body say if he fought Conor McGregor, they would strip him?
Strip who?
Manny Pacquiao for not fighting a top 10 fighter.
You think Manny Pacquiao will be running for president of the Philippines after he collects $40 or $50 million for this Conor McGregor venture? Gives a damn if the WBA strips him?
That's a good point. My other question is that after the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight, and then the allegations of the gloves and stuff like that have come up, or whatever, a lot of fighters have now been checking the gloves of their opponents. Povetkin, Dillian White. There was an issue with Foster in California that now Luda Bella is calling for a full investigation. And there have been several others that have come up, and then people have and reports have gone back to the Mayweather Maidana fight, where the gloves weighed the proper weight, but the padding was distributed in a basically unlawful manner. Why isn't Deontay Wilder getting the same shake?
Because the fight took place in Nevada. And in Nevada, the gloves are presented after the weigh-in. Each side picks two gloves and two sets of gloves, and they put the gloves down, and the fighters test the gloves, and they then sign their names on the gloves, the gloves they're going to use in the fight, and the backup gloves. The commission takes those gloves and holds them in a safe place, and the gloves don't reappear until the inspector brings each glove, the gloves they're going to use, to the dressing room where they're put on in the presence of an inspector. So in Nevada, this stuff cannot happen, not under the rules that pertain for that fight. No fighter has control of the gloves, that can tamper with the gloves, and that can certainly put an object in the gloves. That's ridiculous. That's a fantasy. It's as much of a fantasy as when he said that his trainer, Mark Breland, put drops in his water to knock him out. I mean, that's ludicrous. Makes absolutely no sense. Look, we're living in this era of Donald Trump with all the conspiracy theories, all the stuff that doesn't make sense. Athletes don't have to stoop to that level that the president has stooped to during the last 4 years.
Look, Mr. Arum, with all due respect,
Last point. I want to get to the next call. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna say this. There's obviously been a shift in the way that in the way the fighters do things prior to a fight since the Deontay Wilder fight. Everybody's checking gloves, and the gloves might have been the right weight, but it was a distribution of the padding. I never mentioned anything about egg weights, but I think you. Thank you for taking my call, sir.
Those are inspected by each camp before the fighter signs. It can't be. It can't happen. You're dealing with stuff that may have happened at one point in time years ago when stuff went on, and certain states don't have those type of precautions. But in Nevada, at the present time, you cannot screw around with gloves. You can't do it because of the procedures that they have in Nevada. Now, that could happen in some other states that don't have those procedures, but this fight didn't take place in those other states. It took place in Nevada. And we have to be real. I mean, it's like, I say, it has to be real. Look what's happening with this election, with wanting to throw out millions of votes. It's ludicrous.
I think you're taking my call, sir. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Good night.
Appreciate you, Steve. You got a VIP guest that want to ask you a question, man. We got Bill Haney on. You want to talk to Bill Haney?